Hello and welcome to the Leftovers Rewatch. We're on episode 2, right? 3? Is this 3?
Episode
That's
3.
the third episode, yeah. Crazy white, was it? Crazy
Crazy white fella thinking.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Crazy Hank fella thinking.
There you go. And I thought it was an interesting episode. I forgot a lot, like the end scene with Grace. Mm-hmm. I completely forgot about that. Mm-hmm. So when I'm watching it, I'm like,
well, they're able to put so much in these episodes in season 3, taking out all the stops.
Well, obviously, I didn't see it the first time around. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it after I'd seen it.
Yeah, I mean, the same.
I was like going, oh, that's right. Oh my God, how terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of all the billions of people out there, she's not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. But I don't know. They just pull at your heart going, I mean, if you can't get choked up on that scene, then you should stop watching any kind of television whatsoever. Because that's a tearjerker. That's a...
Well, I mean, tearjerker is gets a bad rap for being overdramatic. But I mean, I think what this is in terms of the core of Lindelof is making you feel. And I think it's
one of my granddaughter's Band-Aid she's put on me today.
I mean, I think we all agree, like, one of the through lines of Lost, Leftovers, and Watchmen, but especially Leftovers and Watchmen, is taking people you hardly know anything about and just having this immense outpouring of empathy just by hearing them talk.
Yeah, like you've said, Eckhart, a few times, you bring in actors that, and she's been in a lot of things, but you bring in actors that aren't really main characters to the story, mm-hmm. and we've only seen her for 10 minutes before this, mm-hmm. and suddenly I'm feeling sorry for her.
Absolutely.
And I was gonna wait to shout it out, but I'll shout it out now. Her name is Lindsey Duncan. Mm-hmm. And she was in Rome. That's where I got to know her.
That's where she played
Servilia.
Servilia, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I kept going, where do I know her from?
But if you watch any kind of British drama in the last 20 years, you've seen her. She's all over that stuff. I know she was in Black Mirror. She's been in a ton of stuff.
No relation to Sandy Duncan?
I don't know, but Sandy Duncan did play the part of the nurse in the 1973 orchestral version of Tommy.
Jesus, that was so specific.
Yeah.
So
you knew it was going to end up somewhere with the Who.
And
I can do it with anything.
Yeah,
and she took Valerie Harper's spot on the TV show Valerie.
How did that work out?
I remember that actually. It was weird. They made her like, I don't know, some sort of aunt or something.
Yeah. And she was in Roots. Sandy
was
Duncan.
She Leslie Uggams'
yes.
Master, quote unquote?
Yes.
Master? Yeah, okay.
Yes. Anyway, there we go. Enough Sandy Duncan talk. People probably like going, wow, those are 3 references to Sandy Duncan I didn't know about.
These are nerds. Let's hear them talk about that.
Anyway, we got Kevin Sr. is listening to a tape of young Kevin. Mm-hmm. And we find out later they're traveling to Niagara Falls. And he goes, Dad, the duck's gonna drown. Kevin, the ducks don't. It's so realistic because anyone who has had kids that are 7 and 8 and they just keep yapping and yapping and yapping, and they ask the same questions over and over again, and you're trying to be patient. You try to answer the questions. No, they'll be fine. No, they'll be fine. No, they'll be fine.
Because I said so, it is a last resort.
Yeah.
They really push you to that last resort sometimes.
Well, having my grandkid, I had the Glaffelder boys over this weekend, and because I said so doesn't work anymore. Because they still go, why? I go, times have changed. My mom would just go, because I said so.
Yeah. And
that would be it. But no, it's again, it's just the small details. Mm-hmm. But that was realistic. Again, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I remember those days where you'd be in the car and all 3 kids would be talking to me. I'm like going, why won't this radio get louder?
3. Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Yeah.
And then Kevin's recording, and he's recording the Aboriginals. Is that the correct? I'm trying to read my writing. And we're wondering what the heck is he? He's liking. He's enjoying it. He's got. And then he drives away, and he lights a fire, and then he strips down, puts on Aboriginal clothing, and gets some white. I'm assuming it's paint, right? And he starts dancing and chanting, and the cops show up, going, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm preventing the apocalypse. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So they I don't know if they arrested him, but they did take him in, right?
Yeah.
They took his photo, said, "Don't smile," because it's not. I guess.
Do they tell you? I've never been arrested. Do they tell you to do that? Like you guys have been? Like you would know? I don't know.
When I was on the 10 Most Wanted, the FBI told me not to smile.
Okay.
I gotta be honest, I've never been arrested, so.
Yep.
It's one of those. It's been on my bucket list for a long time, but
we should make it happen. Let's go.
Yeah. But anyway, they say he can't have his player back, his tape player back. He's like, and then it was very, it belonged to my son. Come on, I listen to his tapes.
Yeah, he wants the specific tape of Niagara 81.
Right.
He doesn't care about the other one, but he wants the one. Says it's important to him.
What really struck me here was in the whole episode, and going back to International Assassin, is this line of how deeply, and I can really relate, he cares about his son, through all this crazy things that I'm sure we're going to get into in a minute. Like, there's a really strong through line that I really appreciated this time watching it.
Yeah.
And I wrote this backwards because they look at the map and he says that's a song line. Yep. That's what it is. It's a song line. And then that he went for the tape and stuff like that. But I like you're saying, he does care about Kevin. He cares about what happens to him. He's a good dad.
We didn't mention this, but seems to be kind of like a reference there to Kevin's drowning, his own drowning, and the way that the ducks go down, ducks come up.
That's the natural order of things.
Things, right. And the next tape that they're about to get into deals with him asking about the assassination of the president.
Or at least the attempt.
Ooh.
So that's a little bit of foreshadowing, too.
Yeah, because Travis is pretending. Because Travis is from Taxi Driver, right? If I remember correctly.
Travis Bickle, yeah.
Yeah, Travis, who was played by Sandy Duncan, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Sandy Duncan, De Niro, right? Is that...
De Niro, De Duncan, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But he says, no, John wanted to kill the president. Travis was just pretending. And he tried to kill the president. He goes, did he kill the president? No, son. He didn't succeed at killing the president. So John Hinckley did not succeed because he was in love with Jodie Foster. And he thought this was the best way to go about showing his love for Jodie Foster, not flowers.
And it totally worked, and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah, they did.
But he said it's only because he is crazy.
Right. Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that an 8-year-old Kevin Garvey would have heard or knew about, what was it, the movie you guys just referenced, Taxi Driver?
Taxi Driver, yeah.
Taxi Driver.
Which is a bit weird.
An 8-year-old should not watch Taxi Driver. I'm just going to put it out there right now. If you let your 8-year-old watch Taxi Driver, I'm not going to judge.
Right.
I don't know if have you seen Taxi Driver, Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, coming from he's a cop. Kevin was a cop, so I don't think violence, not necessarily to relate the two things, but I think that would be something that Kevin Sr. would be like, sure, hop up on the couch, no big deal.
Yeah, but this was
I really want to speak for little moments of I forgot the word, not smart parenting that happens sometimes, and you realize afterwards it was a mistake. Or something you shouldn't have let them watch. And my dad had a little window of that when I was 10, and he took me and my brother to see Goodfellas.
That explains a lot.
And he says it was a moment of bad parenting. I thank him for that.
Is that why you won't squeal on anybody?
Maybe.
I can just imagine like a little 10-year-old Ethan just laughing during that whole "What's so funny?" scene.
I was wide-eyed. You know what I mean? I was like, it was amazing. You know?
Did you go home going, what are those helicopters doing? What?
Yeah. And I was like, why did they say that word so many times?
But yeah. I mean, this might be spoiler territory, Ethan. But is there anything that you know, like about these little tape vignettes? Like, if there's anything else behind it, like in terms of the way they were selected?
No, I don't know that.
Okay.
You know, I was gonna pull the duck comes up thing as like kind of spoiler territory, but
I mean, it was probably like the thing that I always accuse other people of, where they take data and then draw a unicorn on it because they're conspiracy theorists, right?
right.
Like the way that we can draw like the unicorn here in terms of the reference to the whole assassination theme that comes towards the end of the season, right?
You know, I didn't even think about it until you like talked about it here. So thank you for that. It was good.
Yeah. So,
but I do like how they say Kevin Garvey Jr. This is Kevin Garvey Jr. reporting.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a reporter someday.
There you have it, folks.
There you have it, folks.
But I mean, is it an interesting cadence where it goes from like either Kevin Jr. like being anxious or asking about these really complex stuff and then being satisfied with the answer and then just like going like signing off, like like you could just imagine him then running off to play with the Legos then.
No, he needed to go get a cigarette.
Well, but, you know, Damon Lindelof did this show after he lost his father, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so there's a lot of connection here, and there's a lot of regret in Senior when he reflects maybe on how impatient he was.
Mm-hmm.
I get that sometimes. You know, a lot of father son stuff in the Leftovers.
Yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know when to mention this. I feel like it's kind of the elephant in the room regarding this episode, but there is something to be said for, like, you know, he's in Australia, he's listening to these memories, but why isn't he with his son? You know what I mean? Like, not saying that he's a bad father or anything, but if you thought the world was ending, why wouldn't you spend the final days with him?
Well, he's trying to prevent the world from ending.
Yeah, he's trying to save them.
Plus, he doesn't want his son, you know, hoarding in on his glory.
That's another good point. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and I think this is really good to bring up. We can talk about it now, but I thought it was going to be really good to bring up when he talks to Matt and he first reads the book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that scene's about to come up. So
yeah,
because he goes into a place. I didn't write because there's a lot of. This episode was hard to take notes. I don't know about you because there was a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
So every time I'm writing, I go, wait, what? And I would go back. I was trying to catch everything, but he goes to the place. He's looking for Christopher Sunday. And he goes, well, you know, they're part of the indigenous. I can't say it. Indigenous people. I can't say dissiding.
He said it just like Patty, like child Patty in season 2.
Okay, there I'm perfect. But he goes, I'm part of that community.
Yes.
And he goes, you need to talk to Sharon.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, okay, who's Sharon? And then Kevin, he goes and he gets mail, right? He gets mail from Matt.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any ID, and he goes, well, I thought it was pretty funny. He goes, I heard what good people you are, and how he said something. It was a shot at them, right? About being helpful.
Yeah, I heard how helpful you were down here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I had my mail forward here. So it's Cash and the Book of Kevin, or at least a copy of the Book of Kevin. Mm-hmm. And we do find out later on that this is the only copy other than the one Kevin has.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. Well, I think they said before that, and they lied. They said that there was no copy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Of course they lied.
So,
but only one copy.
Right.
Yeah.
So do we think John and Michael and Matt all have copies?
Yeah, I think they probably do.
Yeah.
Okay. He needs. Let's see. He gets out the book and he gets a red pen, and he starts writing notes, drawing lines through it, and he's not happy. And he even screens MF.
Yeah, and FA.
Yeah.
And full of S.
Then he calls Matt and talks, and Mary answers the phone. And he says, I'm Brad, Brad Johnson? Let's see. Frank Johnson, I'm sorry. He goes, you sound like the former chief of police of Mapleton.
I do like that since in season 3 they let Mary talk, that she kind of just voices her frustration in most conversations.
Because, well, he tells Matt, he goes, is everything all right with you and Mary? He goes, oh, it's fine. We're working on it. So even he can sense something is wrong from all those miles away with Matt and Mary, except Matt. Matt can't see it. Right?
Matt doesn't want to see it.
No, I think Matt can't. Matt is, when Kevin approached him about his wife leaving him, I guess in episode 1, he quoted something about, if you want to be in my grace or whatever, you have to be willing to leave your family or whatever. Yeah. So he thinks he's rationalized it. Yeah,
right.
Well, I mean, simply put, God is number 1 and family is second.
The greater good is always for Matt, right?
Well,
right.
I mean,
in what he believes the greater good is.
Yeah, but I mean, in his mindset, and things are shifting, right? There was a time when caring for Mary was the most important thing, but right now, he really truly believes that he's writing the New Testament, right?
But was it always? I mean, I'm trying to remember our conversation from season 1, because he put himself in harm's way several times. If you really care about your wife and you're the lone caretaker,
right?
Do you put yourself in a position where someone could get so mad that he got beat up?
Right.
Would you put yourself in a position where you can get shot?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, yeah, he's always had a selfish streak to him. I mean, I give him credit; he did take care of Mary.
Yeah.
But he did have a selfish streak.
I don't know if it's selfish is the right term. It's really like vainglorious, right?
Yeah.
In the sense it's more nuanced than, because I remember you asked at the beginning of the season, like, so you think like Matt is making cash now with all these big sermons, right? And his attractions. And Ethan and I didn't skip a beat. We're like, no, that's not his character. But his character is the character that's seeking some sort of glory, right?
He did send money to Kevin Sr. though.
Yeah, it was quite a few hundreds.
Yeah, so he's getting some income.
Yeah. Oh no, and we do see in a couple episodes he's got a fair amount of cash stashed away.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's why he's doing what he's doing.
Exactly.
No, but I think he is. I think a lot of times. Well, I don't want to get in trouble here. All right, I'll move on.
Okay. But I did want to say something about because this is the thing that Caleb was talking about. Like, why isn't he with his dad now? Caleb scoffed, his son. Caleb scoffed a little bit. Now, I'm not saying it's right, but the reason why is because he thinks, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is because he thinks he's going to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was kind of relating it to when Michael was helping Jill with the sink.
Okay.
And that conversation and how she was like, you did save me. You actually did something by helping, fix the sink. Well, and this is spoiler back to that scene that we talked about earlier later with Grace and, with Christopher Sunday, is it? And he's like, you can, start to prevent the flood by doing that right there, by cleaning the house, as in an action. So it just kind of hit home a little bit. I felt like that they were kind of honing in on the actions that are actually helpful. Obviously, Kevin Sr. has mental health issues and is going about his thing. So anyway, I thought it was a little kind of potential nugget.
But yeah, I mean, it's good to point out here, like Kevin Sr.'s like his I guess it's vainglorious. He really thinks he's quote unquote the one.
Yep.
What if he is?
And that's it. It goes back to that great line from season 2 where Patty said, "The question is like, are they in your story? Or are you in their story? Right.
Right.
And this is what I think. I haven't seen another show do it as explicitly or as well as Leftovers, where you could actually really see a world where everyone thinks they're the center of it, right? I mean, Kevin Sr. here spells it out and says, "No, you a-hole, you got this backwards. You don't get this. I'm not in Junior's story. Junior is in Senior's story, right?
Right.
And I'm telling you this right now. This is how I view the world." And almost everybody in this story feels that way, right? Which is what makes it so rich. That's why all the side characters are so powerful, right?
You got to wonder why Matt would send him the book anyway.
Especially if they didn't talk about it first. Like, he seems totally blindsided that he's not in it at all.
Right. I mean, obviously, Kevin Sr. has expressed these feelings before. Just didn't come out today. Hey, I'm the guy. I'm the one.
I mean, I'm just building a hypothetical.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just wondering, why would you send Kevin the book anyway?
Well,
why would you even tell him you're writing the book?
I could see a situation where Matt and Kevin Sr. were talking about Kevin's childhood.
Okay.
And or something like that, young adult, something like that, right? That he was using him as reference, and then Kevin Sr. completely misunderstands what's going on, and he thinks that Matt is writing about him, right?
Right. Could be. That's a good point.
And Matt probably just let him talk, and he's telling him all this stuff, and he's like, "Okay, don't need this, don't need this, don't need this."
Because Matt doesn't always listen either.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, no, because Matt was definitely, yeah, Eckhart's totally right. Definitely like plugging in for information about Kevin because he wants the story of Kevin.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, I was going to say that I think that it is a unique juxtaposition between the memories from the cassettes and then the Kevin Sr. that we're seeing now with the all about me attitude. So, yeah. Okay, nobody says anything once I say anything. So
no, but like I think everybody like takes their turn to speak, and then we're all aware that it's time.
Caleb, I'm laughing because as I was flipped back to the script to see where we are, and I saw the part highlighted that says he's part of mine, which is of course my title for this episode, right?
Oh,
because the first time I saw this, I thought this was perhaps the funniest scene in the entire series. The fact that Kevin Sr. is getting so upset, and you can see how defensive Matt is getting over this whole thing. Where they even talk about things like Matt makes excuse saying like, I didn't put that in the book because where you were the father and he was a child because, children don't feature prominently in scripture. And then he goes and asks about, was it Abraham?
Abraham.
Sacrificing his son. And they're like, well, he was 36 when that happened. And then his response is just, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
So that you have this guy who's in Australia who's convinced that he's going to save the world and thought that this preacher was writing a gospel about him and says, oh, the original gospel, the original Bible, that makes no sense at all.
Well, but also, like, it's funny, but, thinking about it, and I brushed on this time, and with the article, actually, Caleb sent us earlier, that talks about this episode a little bit.
I did contribute, yay.
Yeah. That is, I feel like that's part of his justification when he switches it around at the very end, is the fact that he's able to jostle things around in his mind to make Kevin Jr. the one, because the kid was 36,
right? And
Kevin Jr. is older, so now he's able to find a place to get his story, fitting around him.
What? No, if you're Matt, why don't you just say, "No, I'm working on your book also."
I'm working on the Gospel of Kevin Sr. Yeah.
Matt's feral intelligence only comes out when he's like threatened and the problem's right in front of him. Wouldn't you agree, Caleb?
Are you sure? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Poor Matt. Well, he's upset about the book, and Matt sent him the money. He goes, "Oh, I thought you might need some spending money." He goes, "Yo, you just want to keep me quiet. You don't want me telling Kevin about the book." And Matt's like, well, maybe. And they go back and forth. He's not happy. Doesn't he tell him to F off? F off, Matt.
Senior tells Matt to F off here yet.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and he's in a phone booth. When was the last time you saw one of those?
Superman, 1978.
I was just gonna say that, like, if you're a character in the show that people are constantly telling you to F off, like you might have a problem, you know.
Matt's been told to F off quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like by Nora, by Kevin, by
Megan.
Yeah.
Megan. Now, Kevin Senior.
Wow, he must hold the record. So, because Lori was only told F you one time, right?
No, it doesn't. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Also, he mentioned scuba gear for some reason. So might
come to play later on.
That might come into play later on.
Yeah.
Well, it starts raining, and it's raining hard. Then he goes. He finds the place where Sharon's at. He asks where Sharon at, and the guy says she's in the crapper.
Yeah.
In the crapper. And then as he goes into where her office, he sees a wanted poster for him hanging up. I'm like going, so is that the one where they took the picture of him? Because he doesn't realize how long he's been gone, right?
I think so.
Or is that just there's several different photos of him?
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was apprehended before for doing what he did with this at the sacred site, right?
Yeah.
And he's also, mentioned he had been like on the east. He'd been all over Australia, basically.
Because Australia is big.
Yeah.
That's what we find out.
That's what they keep telling us. I've never been there. I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen it on the movies. I saw it on Risk. When you look at it on Risk, it's really not that big a place. Am I right? Let's see. He tells Sharon, and he's kind of
he's sweet talking her.
Sweet talking. He has a way.
Good job.
He has a way with the women.
Yeah.
Right. He can sweet talk people.
But he just has this way where it's like, well, I can keep the crazy bottled up for like a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's still gonna come out, but like he can contain it a little bit.
And then he says, he goes, I'm looking for a clever man named Christopher Sunday, which is a great name.
Mm-hmm.
I love that name. And then that's when Sharon sees the wanted poster. And he goes, do not look at that poster. That poster is wrong. They were wrong.
Well, it's like the funniest line in this episode. I mean, I guess we're going to say that a couple times is when they talk about stealing the Aboriginal lands, and she goes, "But we apologize for that."
Yeah, because she goes, shame on you for wanting to take that. He goes, your government took their land and their children.
But
we said we were sorry.
Right.
It was.
I mean, I'm not laughing at that, but just the line is, we said we were sorry. Then he just steals the address. He runs out, and she goes, "Oh no, come back here." But then he drives and he meets Chris. He meets Christopher Sunday, and Sunday asks, "Are you scared?" Right?
He says, "You're scared."
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even ask. He just
points it out.
States it as a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So they're setting the tone there for Chris Sunday.
But we find out he started hearing voices because we keep seeing that scene from his backside, and he started hearing voices 5 minutes after the departure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's when he started. So does this mean? Are they hinting that he could hear the people departed? That because it's been a long theory out there for the longest time.
Well, it's wonderful ambiguity, right?
But go ahead.
You could spin it either way. You could say that the chaos that he was enveloped with drove him mad,
right? Or
you could give the magical answer that you just gave, right? And in typical Jack Crackpot fashion, you can't disprove either, right? So whichever one is still alive, right?
It's the perfect theory. You can't say it's not true, right?
Which one do you think it is, Caleb?
I think you already know which one I think.
Caleb going with Man of Science.
Yeah. He tells Chris he came to Australia because he wanted to see the amphitheater, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, he tells Chris he saw a hippie wearing a red headband, and he said, "Do you want to talk to God?" And I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
I mean, I have questions, right? We all have questions, right?
Oh, I got lots of questions.
You're like, what? God damn.
Actually, I don't because Go ahead.
Okay, but it's kind of interesting at this point though, because we have Kevin Sr. who's like, yes, it's me. I'm the one. But
Yeah.
Kevin Jr.'s like, stop pushing me to be the one. I don't want to be the one.
Right.
Because Nora keeps making fun of him about being the one.
Right.
But
can the holy balls be busted?
And then
it's interesting.
Then he goes into a hotel room. The TV is on in the hotel room.
Yep.
And it's about a whole town that lost everything. Everything departed on the 15th because it's the 15th, right?
Yep.
In Australia.
Except,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, could we circle back to the institution comment? Because I think that, I mean, your theory was he can hear the departed, and my counter to that would be that we don't know how long Kevin Sr. has had mental issues. We know how long he's been hearing things, but we don't know symptoms or things prior to that. And also, when you're dealing with a big trauma like that, if he did have, more of a, if he was more like susceptible to mental illness, then that would be like a huge trauma that may trigger like a psychotic episode or something.
Right.
So that would be my science take on that, loosely.
Obviously, I don't like it. I'm just kidding.
All right, but there were, and before we get to the hotel, there was an interesting nugget that I'm surprised.
Was it a chicken nugget?
No, that comes later. That's Tony. But that I'm surprised Ethan didn't slam on the buzzer because he specifically mentions that he goes to the opera house to listen to Verdi, which, of course, if I'm not mistaken, Verdi was the composer of that piece that kept playing during International Assassin.
The chorus.
Wow, yeah.
And so the story that he tells with the hotel and God's Tongue parallels what Kevin saw on his side.
But it doesn't.
But here's the thing. Bits and pieces do, right?
Just enough.
And so that, like, again, it's one of these things where they're sprinkling all these. God, I don't want to use it. I'm not going to say it. I'll just say
it.
I was going to say crumbs.
Yeah.
I don't like that term anymore.
You should have left it because it wasn't that exciting.
Oh, is that what Laura thinks? That's cool.
Is that your wife? is that why you always get all these compliments? Eckhart's so hot. He's so cute. Give Eckhart 50 points.
It was my mom.
Points.
It was my mom that liked Eckhart. Okay, it was my mom.
All right, but okay, Ethan, let's talk this through, right? Because he's describing a scene which is similar. Thank you, Laura. Scene that's similar to what Kevin sees, but in what Kevin sees, he doesn't see the dad with two white guys. He sees him with like Aboriginals around the fire, right?
I think it's unclear exactly what else is going on in the room.
Right, but he does talk. Doesn't he talk about God's Tongue in International Assassin?
He does.
So there is that link, but then as he gets further into the story now, doesn't he say he actually saw, like you're saying, he saw the story about the chicken on TV?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas Kevin Jr. sees his father, his father doesn't see his son, backing up Caleb's theory about Senior being a bad father.
Well, Tony the chicken, Kevin the son. Come on. But it is. I thought it was an interesting story because the only thing that survived that was still there was this egg. The egg hatched 2 days later, and who named it Tony if nobody was there though?
Right. I was thinking that too, Jack, as they're describing it. Like, who raised the chicken?
Yeah, I mean,
there's some sort of Nora.
Yeah, I mean, how is this on TV? I mean, really, that was what they went looking for, an egg? Oh, there's this egg over here.
And
Oh, it's hatched and it's Tony.
What's terrible, Jack, is you contrast that to them not looking for those kids at the end of the episode.
Yeah, right.
But it's also interesting that they would also point out that there's the polar opposite of a place that's like Jordan.
Yeah, that's true.
Where everyone departed.
Yeah, I like that. Take my points, Ethan.
Take my points, please.
Take my wife.
It is probably important to mention that when somebody says, "Would you like to talk to God?" that they're probably meaning, "Would you like to do drugs?"
And
those are probably pretty hard drugs. And so anything that Kevin Sr. says that happened can be in question.
But the answer is yes, if anyone asks you that.
Well, that too, but still.
I thought that was if anybody asks if you are a god, you say yes. That's what I learned in Ghostbusters.
Right. That's what you also learn in
starring Sandy Duncan.
And the new one starring Candy Coon. Candy Coon. Carrie Coon.
Candy Coon. Oh, I like that. Candy Coon.
Candy Coon. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Oh, that's perfect.
But we find out he went to go see Tony the chicken. I almost said Tony the tiger. He almost went to see Tony the chicken, and Tony the chicken was pecking at the tape. The tape that we later find out that Senior starts to cry about Kevin Jr. He's crying, so he cares.
Yeah,
he's crying, talking about everything they said going to Niagara Falls. He goes, "He was driving me crazy," and that's where we go back to where the kid, he just wouldn't shut up because his mom had died. So they drove to Niagara Falls. Junior asked Senior to sing "Itsy Bitsy Spider," and it was raining. It was raining hard. He starts singing "Itsy Bitsy Spider" because he didn't want to do it at first. And the rain stops. This is why Kevin Sr. thinks he needs to save the world because he needs to sing "Itsy Bitsy Spider" or whatever.
And there's that guy that we follow on Twitter who's really into Leftovers and also Twin Peaks. What's his name?
Lindelof?
Heathen King?
Yeah, Heathen King. He's made this point about both Leftovers and Twin Peaks about exploring the subliminal, right? Yeah. And how
I think I followed him on my other Twitter account.
Yeah. And how I don't know if they did this intentionally, but the way that they recorded all these tapes, really, you can see how they're seeping into the subliminal of both Senior and Junior.
Yep.
And how Senior saved Junior from his anxiety of the rain by singing that song.
Right.
And I mean, this one is much more direct than the other ones, but I mean, he's literally traveling from one end of the continent to the other to learn all the songs that cause the rain and probably to sing them backwards, right?
But also just Kevin Jr.'s presence probably saved his dad at that time.
Right.
In general, to have someone to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Give yourself a point.
Ethan, do you remember in season 1 when we see in the Garveys at their best how much Kevin reveres his father and says it?
Mm-hmm.
They don't actually mention what happened to the mother, right? That only gets mentioned for the first time now, right?
Right.
I thought she died of cancer.
Right, but we only learned that now in season 3, right?
Okay, I knew it. That's
yeah.
Totally.
All right.
Do you think that may be part of why Kevin Sr. and Matt are so close? Because Matt could really probably understand what Kevin Sr.'s wife was going through, potentially.
Oh,
could be.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a mutual understanding there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good, but not good enough to get a point.
Well, I'm being tight. I'm being tight with the points today. I'm sorry. People said I've been too generous with the points, and I'm just not going to give them out.
Rose, stop.
All right,
take our points.
Take a half a point.
That's my half a point, Ro. Yeah. You enjoy it. Spend it wisely.
Well, this was really annoying to me.
They are valuable on Amazon. I can tell you that.
This was really annoying to me when someone asked. This is why I don't like to anymore dig into songwriters and why they write songs, because once they give them to the world, they're the world's, and they can interpret them how they wish. When he goes to see Christopher Sunday, and Christopher Sunday says, "No, the rain is not to the songs are not to stop the rain; they're to bring the rain."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, that's open to interpretation." Well, F you, dude. This is my song. This is why we sing it. Anyway.
You're just upset with Kevin Sr. Take that.
I am. Kevin
Sr.
What?
You had a point. I'm giving it to Caleb now. Caleb has 1.5 points.
Eckhart said vainglorious, and it's not. Kevin Sr. is very selfish in this episode, and he gets even more selfish later in this season.
Are you selfish when you're trying to save the world?
Well, he's delusional, so
technically he's not selfish.
He's misguided. I mean,
we should save the rest of this for spoilers. The rest of this particular conversation.
All
right.
Yep.
Well, he does say it's 7 years of the 7-year anniversary of the depart, and he goes, "The rain will come. The rain will come." He has to sing to stop the rain. Blah blah. We've already talked about all this. Chris says you can bring the song's not about rain. Here, I got lines through my stuff here. But Chris, he says, if you want to help, because
you want to stop the flood.
Yeah, he's got a leak in his roof, and it's pretty gross. There's got to be a lot of mold up there, right?
Yeah,
that can't
be good shape, Jack. Not good shape.
That cannot be healthy for Christopher Sunday.
He goes, that's the scene earlier that I mentioned that I thought was similar to the Jill and Michael, where he's like, if you want to help, just use your hands to help me right now. I need this help.
Give yourself 3 points for that. I forgot about
that. Thank you.
Okay. Did anyone else picture Christopher Sunday sitting in his house just playing the guitar by himself sometimes?
In the Jude?
In the Jude. Yes, it is.
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, I did. I always see guitar.
I mean, it's all guitar, but
Yeah, he definitely seemed like a cool guy.
Yeah, definitely seemed like a guy you want to hang out with, do some God stuff.
Yeah.
He kept calling him Chris, right?
Well, he called himself Chris, so.
Yeah, okay, Chris, because I wrote down Chris a lot.
Yeah.
The swamp cooler is leaking. He's on
like
top
an
of
MFer.
Yeah. And then Sharon shows up and he goes, "Oh, don't listen to her. Don't listen to her." And then he falls off the roof and ends up landing on, who's he land on?
On
Christopher Sunday.
So this is a I thought an interesting scene, but also we'll get to it.
Just
they're
Lindelof comedy.
Yeah, they're in the ambulance, and he's still trying to teach me the song, and teach you. He's like this, and the guy, the paramedic, I'm assuming he's a paramedic. It's like, dude, back up. He can barely breathe and stuff like that. And he goes, don't you respect? Kevin Sr. says about respect. And so the next scene, we see him being thrown out of the car in the middle of nowhere with crutches, and he's just left for dead. Now, he is in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Would they really do that?
Well, what they've done a good job of showing is that he's really built up a lot of bad will with the Aboriginal community, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of built. And you could see, like, most of the episode, like, from the middle onwards, like, anytime he asks something to someone with an Aboriginal background, they're like scowling at him, right?
Yeah.
Because like he's just giving off really bad vibes. So yeah, I think they would. I mean, especially given that like the Chris Sunday's supposed to be revered, right?
Right.
That like he's almost like some sort of a local dignitary. So this crazy white fella, might have killed him.
Yeah, that's true. And then he's walking and listening to the tape, and then we hear Eddie Rabbit's "I Love a Rainy Night."
Eddie Rabbit. Okay.
Did you guys know that was Eddie Rabbit?
I didn't know it was Eddie Rabbit. No.
Oh, you, Mr. Music Man, didn't know that was Eddie Rabbit? I love a rainy night. Well, I knew it was
Journey. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't even have to look it up. It was Eddie Rabbit's "Rainy Night." Then a car stops. And he's thinking, okay, good. I can be safe. And another guy's pouring gasoline on himself, the car, everything. And he's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And I like this because this brings up an interesting question. As they're talking back and forth, the guy said, would you kill a baby if it cured cancer? Well, I'll ask everybody here.
I've thought about this a lot. The answer is no.
No. Caleb?
No.
Okay, it's going to cure cancer forever. You're going to save how many babies? How many people die from cancer every year? We all know people.
Yeah, but
I'm just, I'm not saying, because I haven't given my answer yet, because I probably couldn't do it either, but it would cure. I thought it was a great question. It's like, would you kill baby Hitler?
Okay. Question for Ethan and Caleb, and we can do spoiler here. Does this link to anything else in the series?
100% yes.
Okay. I mean, is it what I'm thinking about in terms of Nora's time storyline?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say no. Would you kill a baby? And I mean, if it would cure cancer, I mean, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, I have no clue if people are going to profit off of this illegally, if people are going to use it. Like, how are they going to disperse, the cure? I mean,
well, I didn't think that far ahead.
You know what I mean?
Big Pharma gonna charge? Is Big Pharma gonna charge everyone $2.8 billion if they want to cure cancer? I mean,
right? Yeah.
Well, if you put it that way, then I guess I'll have to say no. I'll give you guys all a couple points for saying no.
But if it's like the trolley problem, where there's like 1 billion people laying here on one track and a baby on the other, then I'm going to have to run over the baby if I have to make a decision.
Right.
Now, what if those 1 billion people on the track were all out there just ripping people off, and the baby could save the world someday?
This is not the right show for this conversation.
If I can physically see the people, these are not like a potential cancer is cured. If you can see 1 billion people in one baby, you save as most lives as possible, always.
Even if they're evil people.
Well, that depends on your definition of evil.
you just they're the same people you were just talking about.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we kill the baby?
What?
Do we kill the baby?
Is the baby Spock?
Well, we don't know. We keep going. Okay. I'm asking the same. I'm asking the same question. All those 1 billion people could be the most evil people in the world.
I can't kill a baby.
True. I guess you don't know at the end of the day.
So we're still killing the baby.
I'm not killing the baby because I assume that they'll eventually figure out the cure to most cancer. So.
All right. So Senior said no. So then the guy lights him on fire. And he takes off. Kevin Senior hops away.
Now that I think about it, in a dream, Tony Soprano once did the exact same thing.
He did. I'm on the final episode of my rewatch.
I'll have to ask about that later.
Okay, and then anyway, he goes in the truck. He goes in the trunk of the car, which is in the front, looking for water. Mm-hmm. And just has alcohol. He says, "Damn alcoholic."
Yeah.
That's all there was alcohol. Then it starts raining, and his tape deck. He's left his tape deck, his precious tape deck. He's left it out in the open. And no! So he hops over there, falls on it. The recorder is getting wet. Kevin is trying to salvage this. We're doing anyone from that era knows you take a pencil or a small pen and you rewind the tape back into its place.
I sent someone a Christmas gift once where it was a tape and a tape repair kit, and the tape repair kit was a pencil that had a Post-it note on it that said tape repair kit.
Nice.
And it's true. How many times? How many times in my car? Anybody got a pencil?
Countless times.
So you always had to make sure you had a pencil to fix your tapes. But the tape is distorted. It doesn't work anymore, and so he starts to cry.
Yeah,
this was a great episode for Scott Clinton.
Amazing.
I think that kind of a smaller scene really has a larger impact on the show as a whole, because I think that we're questioning. The important question is: are the things that matter being buried, underneath these extravagant beliefs that people are solely focused on, are the things, are the people that matter getting tossed to the wayside, whether the person knows they're doing it or not. But this was a little small story of something he really cared about and wanted to keep got destroyed. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, obviously, it was his sons. Even though he's a bad father, he did care about the tapes.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess it feels like to him, it's like one of his last connections to him, maybe, if he feels like he might not achieve his goal, right? And the world does end because he was unable to stop the flood. It's the last little piece of Kevin he has with him.
Right. No, I mean, to me, like the whole episode, I mean, it's incredibly comedic and just vivid in terms of, I mean, Ethan's got that great background. I think that's even from that scene right now.
I mean, to me,
cinematic.
I'll let you finish off, but to me, by far, this is one of the best shots in the entire series.
It's my second favorite.
Yeah,
but the episode as a whole feels almost like a biblical story to me. It's I don't know enough about like the lives of the saints or but I have to think that like the fact that he keeps losing things was in some way written on purpose to show that it's not, maybe sacrifice isn't the right word, but he really is giving everything up in this belief and attempt to save his son and save the world.
Well, I was going to ask too. I know we heard him talk. Sometimes he'd be talking to somebody that was talking to him that we couldn't. He was hearing things, but we really don't know what was being said to him, do we? No. It was always like, I'm trying to tell him. Yeah, it was always stuff like that. Do you think they had this in mind in the first two seasons that they were going to go this direction in season 3? I don't think so. I don't think so. And since we're talking about voices, which is interesting, is I don't think we hear him, other than referencing the voices, we don't hear him hearing the voices. No, he just, that's what makes it. Is he hearing voices? Is he not hearing voices? I mean, obviously he's hearing voices, but is it? But it doesn't seem like he's hearing any of it during any place in this episode. No, at this point, I don't think he does hear the voices anymore. Yeah, I think he says he doesn't hear voices anymore. Well, he says he doesn't. He stopped fighting it and just started doing what they were telling him to do. Right. So maybe the way to unpack that is that they told him you have to go there and stop the flood, and once he actually went there to try and stop the flood, they stopped harassing him about it. Right. That could be. Yeah.
I had something to say. I was thinking about the cassette and how we're mentioning how he's losing things, and what I was kind of hinting at earlier, I see it sort of as like a hoarder's issue. People who struggle with hoarding and things like that, a lot of times their nice items, sentimental items will get damaged underneath, for lack of a better word, junk or impulse buys, things like that.
A lot of dead cats.
That too. And so I just kind of feel like, the hoarders, they have a problem. Kevin has this belief, and it's kind of getting in the way of the people that they still love, but maybe the people think that they don't care about them because they're so focused on the belief or whatever. And I thought that the fact that, items usually get damaged was very interesting because I thought it's similar.
Do you think, what was I going to say? Do you think that Kevin, maybe part of Kevin Sr.'s is he's taken Kevin, he's raised, I mean, eventually you have to say, okay, I've done my job. Maybe that's why he's in Australia. He goes, okay, I've done my job with Kevin. He seems all right, seems on the right path. And maybe... I don't know.
It's interesting, that scene at the beginning of season 2 where Senior seems okay and says, I like Lori, but I like Nora more, and I'm off to Australia. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like in many ways, that might have been how they wrote the character out. But now, in retrospect, given where we are in episode 3, we could reinterpret that scene as saying he might have been lying to Kevin Jr. about how well he is. But there's one thing that Senior says a lot during the episode, which is, I don't want my son to be anywhere close to here, right? Because he really believes that, this is the most dangerous place that he can be.
Because he thinks the flooding's going to start there, right?
But it's also like, it might also be on some subconscious level that he realizes the best picture that he can show his son, Kevin Jr., is the one that he left him with at the beginning of season 2.
Yeah, because Kevin doesn't want to see his dad this way, right?
Yeah.
And Damon Lindelof made a pretty big deal about, we've had Scott Glenn on the bench for too long. We have Scott Glenn, and we've kept him on the bench. We're not going to keep him on the bench anymore.
Well, you have like a Hall of Famer, and you have him sitting on the bench. And it's like, okay, when are we going to put him in?
I'm saying, like, this episode,
it's like the movie The Natural, right?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. This episode was written almost like the story of a saint.
Yeah.
In terms of like pursuing something and losing things, and it's
and even coming to terms with something he doesn't
exactly, and coming to some sort of resolution, and that's the real payoff isn't the right term. That's the real
crumbs.
That's
it's the real cookie. It's the real
denouement of this episode. But so you're about to describe how he's basically dragging his way through the countryside.
Yeah, with only one shoe.
Yeah, and it's either him or the snake.
And if anyone's ever walked on crutches, it's hard enough to do it on just cement.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing it because I remember I broke my foot and I was I was coaching hockey. I was at the San Diego Sports Arena and I went down on a step and someone had spilled beer. Crutches went out from under me. I fell on all the people. They broke my fall. But I couldn't imagine walking on crutches in the sand in the hot sun. But he comes across the snake and he goes, okay, I know you're with me, but I need to eat.
And he utters this great line and he says, know that you gave your life for something greater than yourself.
Right, exactly.
And that's when the snake bites him.
Yeah. But I don't know if you could kill a snake with a crutch.
You have to hit it probably several times.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're a cave woman and a snake comes.
Yeah, I was about to say, here comes the parallel.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Give yourself a point.
Yeah.
Ethan. Really are stingy 1 point?
I told you, I'm not going to be generous tonight.
Did they both get bit in the same place on the arm?
I think so.
Yeah, that's right. They did.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if he got bit in the same place.
But anyway, he's a mess. He's a mess. He sees a cross and some other like wind chimes and other stuff. At this point, we don't know what it is. Did anyone, when they first saw this? Again, I was watching today and couldn't remember this. I go, all right, I know it meant something, but I could not remember what it meant.
Well, we knew at some point he was going to have to meet up with Grace. We just didn't know how it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He lays down at the base of the cross,
mm-hmm.
and he sees someone on horseback. Now we know it's Grace, but they don't show it. They hide it from us. Now he wakes up in bed with an IV and a catheter, right? Yep. Oh, and this was the worst scene in the entire series. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Him pulling out the catheter the way he did. I'm just like,
there's a special pain that we can feel when we watch that scene.
Yeah,
and it reminds me of the time. It reminds me of the time when I was right around the same age I saw Goodfellas, and my grandfather was in the hospital, and he decided to show me and my brother and my dad his catheter.
And you had a rough day that day.
We told him not the same day, same year, but we weren't expecting it. You know what I mean? He didn't give us any warning.
This life shows, it doesn't tell.
And I gotta tell you, I thought about that watching this scene, and it was emotionally traumatizing. Was that a TMI story from Ethan again? Sorry, guys.
He calls Matt, and they haven't spoken in like 3 weeks. He's been gone for 3 weeks. Matt wants a copy of the book. He goes, oh, hell, I threw that away. And he goes, what? Matt is not happy. He tells him, you know what? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be the first time Matt tells somebody to F off.
And I got to see Matt's side on it.
Yeah.
Because I remember when he threw the book, when he has the manuscript on his head when it's raining, I go, why would you have that? And then he throws it away. I go, okay, obviously he doesn't care.
But the way Senior says, my friend, you've got to move past that dumb book of yours.
Yeah.
And it's like there's definitely a double entendre there, both the book he wrote as well as the Bible, right?
Yeah. Because but he's just crushing Matt's dream, because Matt's worked hard. Let's be face, it's a lot of work. I mean, Caleb, you wrote a book. It wasn't easy, right?
No.
It took you more than a week, right? I'm thinking.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So Matt's been working on this book for quite a while.
He's very dismissive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But he just would say, oh, it doesn't mean anything. It's crap.
But that's the whole thing about these people that all think that they're the ones that are saving the world.
Right.
Like they just start, dismissing the people around them, right?
Now, did this phone conversation happen?
Yes. I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Wait, yeah.
I thought you were asking if it happened while you were gone.
No, did it happen in
reality?
This question is literally just coming to me now.
He didn't collect.
That's true. Why would you dream of a call
for
you had to pay for?
your kids playing at home, look it up, because I've made collect calls. Does anyone make collect calls anymore? I don't think you have to, do you?
I don't think it's a thing.
Okay.
Do we know why Matt is like in the dark, soaking wet, like in a towel or whatever?
My read on that was that they're starting to show that he has like the medical condition.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, they're playing with time with Matt too a lot, right?
I thought he was doing baptisms.
After
That
Mary,
was my first thought.
this is after Mary left.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they spell it out. They say it's 8 days left.
Yeah.
Right. But I asked that question because right after that he goes and talks to the people outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he goes out and he sees they're building a boat.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, smart.
Mm.
That's smart. Get all the animals together. It's two of each, and I mean they'll all fit on that boat, right?
I mean,
because two of each animal.
There's a very not popular Russell Crowe movie about it, so I'm sure it happened.
Okay.
They better get going.
You're talking about when he was Master Commander? Is that?
No, he actually played Noah.
I know. I'm just joking.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't he in the movie Master of Commander or something like
Far
that?
Side of the World
Whatever it was.
with Paul Bettany.
I don't know. I think.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not? Yeah, totally.
I think Sandy Duncan was in that movie.
Yeah.
Let's see. And he goes and he wants someone to drive him to the hospital. And they go, well, you're the best care ever.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you're better than any hospital. He goes, because he wants to talk with Chris
Sunday.
Chris Sunday. And he goes, oh, wait. And the other guy goes, oh, wait. Are you the guy that fell on him?
Yeah.
Maybe. He goes, he's dead.
Yeah.
You killed Chris Sunday. And so then we go and Senior's looking around for some food. He just helping himself. He doesn't care. And he finds some cheese.
No, before that, he finds something important. He finds Caleb's arthritis.
Medication.
But he literally says, it just says Caleb's arthritis.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. I was writing down notes. I didn't see that. Wow.
You have to look at it closely. I think it's and then
Sometimes
he
doing a
says, "You,
rewatch,
Caleb?"
Jack. Sometimes doing a rewatch, Jack. You have to watch the show.
It sucks sometimes, but like I said,
Subtitles are your friend.
It's easier. I had it on subtitles, but when you're writing notes, it's like,
yeah.
Anyway, because I did this the first time, I would just write down like 3 or 4 notes. That was it. And then I could watch the show. Let's see. But then he's looking through a photo album, eating a piece of cheese,
Mm-hmm.
and it belongs to Grace and Sam. Was it Playford?
Yeah.
Playford. First, they shows adopting Liam Calloway. Then it was Samantha. Then it was a bunch of names after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it has Isaiah 41. What does that mean, Caleb?
I don't know right off the top of my head.
Oh, how many points did you have?
Specific.
How many points
Hold
did
on,
you
hold
have?
on, hold on.
How many
Is it?
What
Oh
is it?
my God!
I'll look it up. What is that? Isaiah
Is it
4?
like
Now Caleb has
41.
whatever points he had minus 41.
it's like
Exactly.
481.
Isaiah 41.
I can't find it. It's too hard.
Anyway, I thought someone would know it. Anyway,
It's about a score with Isaiah Thomas. It's not
Yeah,
going to work out.
Isaiah Thomas
Yeah.
from Indiana, scoring 41 points. Played for the Pistons.
He
Kevin
played
Wakes-
for the Pistons?
Isaiah Thomas.
this is turning into Monday night Bible trivia for me, and it's traumatizing.
You guys didn't get it?
Okay, it's
Isaiah Playford.
Oh,
Playford,
I got it. Yeah,
Playford.
that's a pretty bad joke. So you
It's-
lose any points you have. Well, Kevin wakes up, we forget he walks out there. Now we're seeing the scene from last week where they drown Kevin, the chief, and they kill him. And he goes, "What are you doing over there?" And they shoot him with a dart, a tranquilizer dart.
Hey, just to go back, just for a
and he
second.
says, "Oh, come on."
I just sent you guys a picture on our joint feed. The pictures of the kids, a couple of them match the clothing of the people outside building the ark.
Really?
Oh, that's very interesting.
So
Thought you should.
Hmm.
Thought you should.
they're stealing the clothes, or just
The people outside are not there.
oh.
People outside are a figment of his imagination.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah,
But-
I don't know that that's a fact.
But
Is that
But
is that a theory or a fact?
is the halfway built ark also?
No, the halfway built ark is there.
Then who is doing that?
Uh,
It's just there
before they were.
before the imaginary people showed up. I just want to get a clear timeline here.
That's a great theory, but if it's true, I never heard or thought about that.
I haven't either. That's
It's,
why I was like, well, how does the ark come into play when we
wait.
know it's a physical
Well, the
structure
ark,
later?
the ark could have been built by other people, but we're just looking at this scene right there where he comes out, right?
Yeah.
You're saying, Ethan, that the people that are standing there that may or may not be real are wearing clothes of the people in the pictures.
They're wearing clothes very reminiscent of some.
But they're adults, not children.
Right.
Right.
All right,
But-
people in the chat, are you on Ethan's side, or is Ethan just grasping at straws here?
Ethan's grasping at straws.
I like Ethan's theory. I really like Ethan's theory. I mean,
like I said, it caught me off guard.
and it ties into this whole notion of subliminal, right? In the sense that he saw those pictures. This is before he opened the.
This is before you open the book.
So he sees them before he opens the book.
Yeah.
Oh,
But there's also a harp playing the whole time.
right. You see, if he had seen
What
them after
was
the
our
book
harp
was
playing?
open,
I think there was a harp playing the whole time he was seeing the adults.
yeah.
Was there, or was it just your
I
imagination?
think Amy was playing it.
Amy was in the group of the other imaginary people.
Okay, time out here. That brings up a great point. You were not on board with the Amy being imaginary, but you're
Right,
okay
because
with
she interacted with many other characters.
and they okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyway,
Good argument. Good argument, Jack.
I like this. I like this theory. I'm gonna have to dig into it. But we move on.
Laura said, but that one guy said Chris Sunday was dead. Why would he imagine that? I think he would not have an issue imagining the worst possible outcome for Chris Sunday.
I think that's where you lose it.
Okay. I'm okay with getting our theories wrong, Jack.
So I'm I'm a little confused.
I don't think we see them again in this.
Yeah.
Are we taking the stance that Kevin Sr. is suffering from mental illness, or
Or it could be like dehydration. I mean, he's been bit by a snake. That happened, right?
Yeah. Plus,
All that stuff happened. He's been walking.
I think that
You
happened.
took
I think
dog medicine, so
you're a lot of pain after you pull out that catheter.
Yeah, that's true.
but
Yeah.
but Caleb, just to be specific, he imagined these people before he took your medicine.
He did imagine.
Oh.
He did imagine the
No,
people.
we can't
before
blame
took
Then
Caleb
he
for that one
didn't.
either.
Who interacted with the Ark though? Other people. So other people interacted with Amy. So there, wrong.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
It's
but
a-
the arc
it's
could have been
physical.
something they started before the departure.
Yeah, I mean the arc. You'll see it in other scenes as well, right?
Yeah.
It's I'll be honest, it's a great theory. I've
It's just a background
never heard of it.
layer.
I thought it was that they built it like halfway basically, and then by the time everything happens in the show, everybody's kind of just left, and
It also works.
it
into
is what it is.
Well, it works into his own delusion that there's going to be a flood.
Right.
Well,
It's him seeing the pattern, right?
Well, since there's no like rivers or anything around there, so they should have called it the Black Rock.
So yeah. So you're saying that he physically saw a half of, an arc or whatever being there, and then
Right.
imagined all the people around it building it and talking to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's like
Okay.
Ethan thinking about it like the ark and the dismantled church house, which I guess is what they're using to build the ark, right?
Right.
Ethan? That's like the background layer.
Well, she probably she started building the ark after her children died.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking too.
Because she had lost faith in.
Well, she had 2 years where she had 2 whole years, right? And we'll get into that what she says. But there's 2 whole years there where she was proselytizing his good name because she assumed that they were departed, they were raptured.
Right.
You know what? You've convinced me. I think you're right. I think what he was hallucinating.
Yeah, but
that's why I asked about the phone call. But I think the phone call.
But maybe this was him showing how he interacted with the voices he heard. That he actually saw. He didn't just hear voices. Maybe he did see him, and maybe like he did interact. So you know what? Give yourself 25 points for that.
Yeah, maybe that was the show. Maybe that was the show finally showing the people who were talking to him.
Right. I mean, we could go back and pick out all the scenes and say maybe this one was imaginary, this one wasn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know he fell on Chris Sunday.
Right.
Huh? That's a
and it's something to circle back around to maybe at the
end of the series.
Have you heard this anywhere else? Is this your original theory?
Oh no, that's on the internet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a Reddit, hon.
That's a Reddit theory from
Really?
like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
I've never ever heard that.
It's a really good one if you look at the clothing.
Jack, that's because your 2 other hosts weren't doing any work by the time we got to season 3.
That is true. That's true.
No comment.
So he wakes up. Well, no, he looks through the photo album, all that fun stuff. That's when he goes out. He hears the commotion, and that's when they shoot him with the dart. He wakes up, and Grace is going through stuff, and it's a lot of shoes. Looks like a lot of kids' shoes.
Yeah.
At this point, we still don't know what that means. We don't know because we haven't seen any kids.
Right.
True.
And then she goes, "Would you like some tea?"
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Yes." I would have said no because I don't like tea. You look through my photos. He goes, "Well, I was hungry and it was in the fridge."
Because that's where you keep photo albums.
Well,
along with passports.
Would you maybe keep it in there to keep it fresh because in that hot heat?
I don't know. It might be an Australian custom that I'm not familiar with, so I don't know.
I'm just saying because maybe it's hot. It's obviously hot there.
Yeah.
Nora offers Kevin tea in the finale.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. There's a parallel between these 2 scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tea thing.
Mm.
Got it. Let's see. And then she says, she goes, "I killed a man." He goes, "Okay." He goes, the others had nothing to do with it. And she says, she starts talking about how her family departed. And this is where the scene, I'm trying to write everything down that she said because I was trying to watch the scene because it was such a gripping. I mean, it was just like, I mean, I'm into the scene, but she said, Grace said it was the rapture. 2 years, Grace spent spreading God's word.
And she stresses the very important point that when she gets back to the next day, that she sees her husband's Bible, and she names each one of the children.
Right.
So all the Bibles are in a certain space, and that was to convince her that they were in a better place. They were raptured, and that she was grateful because she knew that they were with God.
Right. And this is where the scene starts getting kind of choked up. She says,
real dusty in the room.
Yeah, she says remains have been. She got a phone call that remains have been found on her property. Bodies were found. 5 children, just bones, bleached in the sun. I'm like, oh no. Is this where they're going with this? The kids set out to find. They walked across the flats, and where they died was the final spot was by where the cross is, and that's why we have the cross and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I never would have thought. You know, I'm sure this when we talked about earlier when we first started recording, this probably happened a lot. That people went out looking for. They didn't. I mean, those kids didn't know what happened, right?
Yeah,
they didn't know what happened because she was telling the story how the woman. She was in the supermarket, right?
And disappeared right in front of her, right?
Yeah, and she just with the cereal, right?
Yeah.
Took the cereal with her.
She said, "Okay."
Couldn't just leave the cereal behind. But it just, I thought it was a very emotional scene. You could tell that she was, and so then I find you, and you have this biblical.
This page written like scripture
in your hand, and it's the book of Kevin. And unfortunately, the chief of police died because he has the same name of Kevin. And she's reading that. She figured it was a sign that she could talk to her children.
But yeah, and that was the wonderful parallel here, is that based on just that page that was there, which obviously described, Matt's rendition of International Assassin.
Right.
That she immediately lurched and grab hold of that sense of hope that here is somebody who can communicate with the dead. And evidently what she wanted is she wanted to tell her children that she was sorry.
Right. Which is obviously any parent would want to do in that situation. And I think I'm going to back up Ethan's theory because I remember he was looking for food. There wasn't a lot of food there.
No.
So all those people had to be eating something, right? So she was probably she was.
Now I'm going to be Caleb, unless they just had a big lunch.
Well, I'm saying is because she's probably in so much pain. Since that she found out, it was bad enough. She probably thought she lost her whole family, right? For the
food's imaginary, duh.
You imagine that cheese.
We just established the departed just took the box with her. So do the imaginary people. They were eating during the scene. Did you not see it?
Were they eating? I don't know. But what I'm saying is,
I don't belittle you, Caleb. I don't belittle you.
What I'm saying is, what am I saying? That she was in probably so much pain. It was probably because we see how Nora reacted losing 3.
Yep.
Her family.
Yeah.
She lost everybody.
Right.
And it was directly her fault, though.
Well, she doesn't. At first, she didn't know, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't know what was going on. She just got back, and she was on horseback.
Yeah, but she's making it clear in the scene that what Ethan just said.
Yeah.
That her remorse, in the sense that 2 years later she realized, I was so convinced that they were raptured, all of them, that I didn't even think about looking for them.
Right. I mean, it technically is her fault.
Yes.
She didn't go looking for him, but I just think I lost my train of thought.
I don't want to say it's her fault, but her guilt is not misplaced.
Yes. No, that's why I'm trying to say that the people I can't see her hanging around people So were there 3 other when she's drowning Kevin? Were there 3 other people really there?
I think the ladies were with her. Yeah, the 4 horsewomen of the apocalypse.
Okay,
yeah.
So that happened. So they're real.
Yeah,
I think so.
But they don't live on her ranch.
They interacted with the other Kevin, with the Australian Kevin.
Okay.
Now, question for everyone she talks when she describes that page that she read and says, police chief named Kevin who drowned and passed into the land of the dead and spoke to them, who freed them from their pain and rose again. I'm assuming that's how they interpreted the well scene.
Yeah.
That he freed Patty of her pain.
But he also helped free Virgil too, right? So
right.
It can be them.
And to a certain extent himself too, but not completely.
Well,
otherwise it would have ended at season 2, right?
Well, because
he's fine. He's doing great.
She says she thinks that Senior was sent by God, and of course Kevin, the chief priest, died because of that. She believes
because
the story.
It's nothing like your 5 dead children to make you think that maybe what you were doing was wrong.
Well, I think at this point maybe she's not. Because you see, they did a great job of showing Nora how much pain she was in, and she's still in pain.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, like we said, that she assumed they had departed, and it turns out they died in a terrible death because they just.
Well, this is what ultimately the show is, showing. What beliefs make you do. They make you join cults. They make you see a pattern in something that's deemed a holy book, and you go off that alone. And there are consequences to that.
Because she thought it was a sign because Kevin, the other Kevin, lives so close by that it had to be a sign. I mean, it just. But then she tells Kevin,
she is responsible for that death, for sure.
yeah, no question about that. Well, she owns up to it. So, right, she owns up to it.
Oh, yeah.
But Kevin, she says, I'm crazy. He goes, no, Grace, you're not crazy. You just got the wrong Kevin. And
which is a great ending line. Great ending line. It's great.
Especially, but like I said, that scene is so. It could be up there with one of the best scenes in the series.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know we keep saying that, but again, it caught me off guard. Going, oh my God, I couldn't imagine doing it. I'd like to think I would go look for my kids, but.
And here's the thing: they're not over yet with this season with the great scenes like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that article that Caleb shared, where they really talk about the fact that a big cornerstone of the entire series are just these conversations, and it's often not so much the back and forth, but just letting somebody talk, and letting somebody express what they're feeling, right? And
let them act.
And even though Kevin Sr. hardly says anything in this scene, you do get some of the facial expressions, responses like we got from, of course, more in the sense that you can see the gears turning in his head and him reaching his own almost like enlightenment, right? Which is in that hearing someone else tell their story, like has kind of put things in perspective for him.
Right.
I think it's a great monologue. There were several in this episode. This is actually, and I just think it goes back to that, they're actually telling and not showing, and there's no need to show. 100% believes every word she says.
Right.
And, like that article mentioned, if you just let the characters be, then sometimes that can be enough. And I really think it's interesting here. I'm not going to say that she killed her kids necessarily. Obviously, she has guilt. But I think it's very interesting that just like Jesus had to, here I am going biblical again, just like Jesus had to carry, just like Jesus had to carry the cross. She mentions carrying the cross, the steeple, and into the desert. And I thought it was another interesting juxtaposition between a parent and a child, whereas in this scenario, she is the parent carrying the child, whereas in the biblical story, the child is carrying the cross.
Like see that's why you're the Bible expert.
Damn it! I don't try to be. It just happens.
Except for Isaiah 41. But anyway, that's it.
Yeah, sorry.
By the way, I did check up the Isaiah 41. It's basically one of those Psalms or whatever it is where it just says basically the too long didn't read version is Lord give me strength. So they probably put it in there to show that like at that point in time she was facing some sort of a test, a crisis of faith, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It was a great ending to the. It's like I said, it's we keep saying this, but the endings are just well. I guess this last week wasn't as we said it. We didn't like the ending last week, right? We didn't think it was necessary, or it could have been the. You guys didn't like it or something like that.
I personally felt like we were a little rushed into Australia by 10 minutes at the end of one episode. I don't know how they did it great, but they had constraints, which leads me to my first note of the after one, which is like, man, I'm really, it pays off a little bit later, but I really don't dig a lot of these music choices at the beginning of the show.
Oh, I disagree. I love this rendition of Personal Jesus.
No.
Yeah, I wish they would have just kept, from season 2 onward.
The fact the way it comes back, and we're a little spoiler territory, the way it comes back in the last 2 episodes with the beginnings, I think it really pays off there. But we're kind of in a annoying intro section for me. You know
why? To be honest, I skip it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, on the last 2, it's really good.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll listen to it, but other times I'm like, I don't care.
It's it's funny, Ethan. Like I usually skip it, but this time I decided to listen to it, and I was like, "Oh, I love Depeche Mode, and I love this cabaret style or whatever you want to call it rendition."
I think it's Richard Cheese. I think that's his name.
Probably.
Yeah, like he was in Barb and Star. Go to Vista Del Mar. That's a great movie. So Kevin saw a chicken on TV, and he saw Kevin. And Kevin Jr. saw him on TV. Next week in G'day Melbourne, the way Kevin Sr. knows Kevin Jr. is in Melbourne is he sees him on TV.
Right.
Because Kevin Jr. sees Evie on TV. Yeah. So we like to watch things on TV.
Yeah.
And
is there really a TV there?
If Kevin's watching it, might not be.
Can I ask this question?
Yeah.
Are we really recording right now?
You're the one in charge of the StreamYard. I certainly hope so.
Both in the present and the past. Yes.
Do you guys exist?
If I didn't exist, I would be skinnier.
Hey, Jack. Ethan's part of mine.
Yeah, right. And last thing is, would you kill a baby to cure cancer? That's the question that Nora gets asked next week.
Nice.
Trying out for.
I don't remember what Nora said, but I'm guessing she said yes.
She looks like a baby fire person.
Yeah, she just looks like she'd kill anybody.
Yeah, really.
She's Nora. I mean,
she'd be like, "Okay, fine. You want to ask me that question? Give me the baby. I'll show you how to kill it right now."
And can we just say too? We didn't touch on it when we were watching the episode. This is the 3rd episode of the final season, and so this is what, the 22nd episode. 23rd episode?
Yeah.
And it did it without any of the main characters.
No Nora.
No Nora, no Kevin, no
Lori,
nobody.
no John, no Michael.
No Michael. They did it
no
without
Lou.
Yeah, no Lou. They did it with, I mean, obviously they have we said a Hall of Fame actor.
Yeah.
But it's just like you go, man, that's risky.
But it's also like it's kind of like, I'm not sure if he did this before Lost, but I mean, obviously doesn't watch, but that's kind of some of his style, right? Where he can write stories for just the side characters and make them the main character for a whole episode.
Yeah.
And people that are into his style just eat it up.
Well, again, it wasn't just even the random actors we don't know we talked about 1,000 times. They do fantastic work.
Well, even like Grace, like we don't, at this point in time, we don't know like what type of role she would play for the rest of the series, but we can imagine her just, exiting the stage. and then you would have had the scene, and it would have just been, what it is. Amazing.
And quite frankly, she's not in it a lot.
Yeah.
No, and her son's a backstabber. So.
Oh, well. That's a whole other show. It's a really good show. Everyone should watch Rome if they can.
Now, talk about a show that was rushed at the end.
Yeah, totally rushed at the end.
But it's still really good.
It's a good, and it's quick. It's quick 2 seasons. It's like 10 episodes each season. It's really, check it out. I was going to say something else, but I forgot what it was.
I have a couple of things.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
Ethan's going to be happy to know that I think I am on his side now about Kevin Sr. seeing the people and them not being there. Because you brought up the point that Kevin Jr. sees Evie, but really doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so that's interesting. So I think you got me there. I wasn't trying to belittle you earlier.
I know.
Never at all.
Okay,
but
Caleb wasn't, but I was. But I'm now
10
on your
points for you, Jack.
I'm with Caleb. I'm on your side now. At first I was like, that's just cocky pot or cocky whatever
cocky
it is.
Pot.
Cocky
poppycock.
Poppycock.
Yeah.
Cocky
pot. Language.
but I'm with Caleb. I believe you now.
Oh, so being with me is actually you're saying with Caleb. All right.
Well, it's better to say it's better I'm with Caleb than agreeing with you. So I'm agreeing with Caleb, who's agreeing with you.
But the other thing is what Laura put in the chat. She said, but that one guy said Chris Sunday was dead. Why would he imagine that? So if we had decided that his imagination had stopped or happened later for that scene, okay, that's one thing. But if you want to say that he's imagining that answer of him being dead, then I think that would be interesting, because why wouldn't he do that? I mean, he would think that he would be like, he's out of the picture, so I'm the only person who can do the flood, and we know like he's real selfish. He thinks he's the one that can do it. So of course, he would imagine, it's me. It's all on me. Sunday's out of the picture. So I think that could possibly be an answer to that question. But just
look at his attitude when he's in the ambulance, right? He's like, we just can't be separated no matter what, because I have to get this song. No matter what his medical needs are.
Maybe I'm just going to throw it out there, because it seems odd to me that anybody would throw somebody out in the middle of nowhere to die. Maybe he was never in the ambulance. Maybe he knew that he killed Chris Sunday on the spot, and he started running. And he grabbed some crutches. Maybe the paramedic showed up and he stole some crutches, and maybe he just skipped, because no one likes him, so no one's gonna give him a ride, right? Maybe.
Why would you give a ride to the person that caused this accident?
Yeah, that did seem a bit weird.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe there was no ambulance. Maybe there was no, because wouldn't the driver say, you can't do that?
All right, these are definitely good questions we're going to ask Lindelof eventually. It might take a while, like 7 years, but this is definitely something we need.
Because now you've opened up my whole imagination to what this whole episode was. Because remember, he said he even has. He goes, "What day is it?" Because he can never remember what day it is, right?
Yeah.
Because he was gone for 3 weeks. He was out for 3 weeks with the bad acid and all that other stuff. So maybe
I think acid was very good, actually.
Yeah. Okay, the acid was good. I'm just saying maybe this whole, him, because why would the cops pull him over, take all his stuff, and then just end up giving it back to him?
And it's kind of like I think someone else said this somewhere. It's like they're much nicer than any other cops ever would have been. So
right. And again, why would Matt's, maybe the conversations with Matt wasn't real?
I just put this together when I heard that theory about the adult kids, right? I'm expanding on it. I just with the harp, it kind of struck me as funny because seriously, like when he's talking to the kids, he's out there. There's harp music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which of course is like Leave It to Beaver era type signaling that there's a dream, right? Sound effect, right?
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
that's what I
great
was
point.
thinking, too.
Wait,
Yeah.
I don't remember there being a dream on Leave It to Beaver.
I mean, that era of television, whenever you wanted to signal that there was a dream
You should have
sequence.
said Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been better because I don't think there was ever a dream sequence on Leave It to Beaver.
What if, and the character would go like this, and then you hear the harp, right?
Yeah.
And then it would go above
And
it.
it go.
Yeah, wavy.
Yeah.
So, and that made a connection too. So when I was talking to you guys, I was
Brady
like,
Bunch. Brady Bunch would do that.
Would they even the conversation with Matt before might have been
Yeah, because again, I asked, well, why would Matt send him a copy of the Book of Kevin?
More importantly, the real Matt would never have the cojones to tell anyone to F off.
And why would Kevin Senior know where to have his mail sent forward to?
Yeah,
that's kind of a better question. But I think we're taking it pretty far. But I think
maybe this whole thing was him in an acid trip, and then he finally runs into Grace.
Man, and she's nice for the hard luck cases.
Yeah,
she's got that Christian charity, you know.
He's pretty much like high the whole time. If it's not the dog's pills, it's the God's tongue. If it's not that, it's whatever they gave him in the hospital or when he got his crutches or whatever. So
all I know is the entire episode is awesome, and it's actually one of those episodes where the first time I watched it, I was looking for clues like for the bigger storyline.
Yeah,
but you miss like 75% of the good stuff when you're just trying to figure out how this ties into the big storyline.
I almost got to watch it again because now I'm looking at it from a different point of view.
Exactly.
Sort of like how Kevin Senior's focusing on the apocalypse and he's losing his cassette because of it.
Yeah.
He's missing these little moments of the show, that we may not have, noticed the first time around. Because like Eckhart said, we're trying to, look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, we're still trying to figure out what the smoke monster is. So.
Speaking of that,
I still don't know.
Speaking of that, the harp thing and the wavy, can you imagine how funny that would be if somebody dubbed that like with Lost every flashback? Mm-hmm. It would be so cheesy you couldn't take it seriously.
Party on.
Like Jack's crying and then it's like woo, and then it's like he sees his dead dad and it's that's Jack not crying, funny. What?
That'd be like 5 times an episode.
That's the thing that's amazing about Leftovers, and that we started this journey several months ago, and one of the first things that Ethan mentioned was somebody writing about how the show being so depressing and couldn't quitting after 4 or 5 episodes. I mean, there's so much humor as we get towards the end of the series, but still able to maintain and create scenes like the one that they had with Grace, all within the same, how long was the episode? It's like
56 minutes, right?
Yeah, an hour, 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a masterpiece.
And and I would call that like vintage season 1 Leftovers almost. That's that speech at the end. You know what I mean? And they push on that music pedal, right?
Yep.
And they get the actor, who knows more than what they're doing, right? It's beautiful to watch.
It's a shame. After I watch every episode, I go, I can't believe more people didn't watch this show.
Yeah,
and still
they will eventually.
I don't think they will. I think it's one of those shows. Either you watch it, and like I said, word of mouth gets out there, but it's been off the air for 8-9 years.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that. No, I forgot it. That I think more people are kind of focused on more positive things in the media right now, more positive shows, feel good shows, because the whole world gestures at everything. So I think it may be a while before people can handle something this depressing and appreciate it.
People are hooked on superhero shows, right? I mean,
well, that's been going on for a while. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, because I keep saying, okay, when's this going to die out? Because I kind of like them, but it's like, okay, I don't need another superhero.
but like people like Ted Lasso's huge right now, and that's an other show. It's taking a pretty dark turn. But
whoa, haven't seen it yet. Had grandkids all weekend.
All right. Well, it's a positive show, right?
It's a very positive show, except for I guess this episode.
It's not my fault you don't watch a show, dude. You're on the internet all the time. Watch a show. Don't yell at me.
How can you watch it when you got kids?
I seem to do it. I just ignore them. No.
Okay, Kevin Senior.
He's back at school. He's back at school.
You can't have to ignore your grandkids. And we got them I've had kids every day until the 25th of September.
So we have to say,
I've seen Jay and Colleen's pictures from California. I know you've been working overtime.
Jay, stop playing with your toys and watch your own kids.
Well, it's funny. He went on a toy convention.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, because I
disgusting.
Going back to, I know how that sounds now. But going back to what I was saying about Leftovers, unfortunately, I don't think people are gonna I don't think it's gonna get the love it deserves, because
it's always going to be a niche show, but there are things that take time to gain acceptance in broader audiences.
But it's one of those shows where you go, it could be a cult classic, or it is a cult classic. It shouldn't be a cult classic. It should be a classic.
Right.
Because to me, cult classic's one of those things where, people, they watch it because it's got a following, or but it's such a great show that people should just give it a shot and watch it. But like Caleb said, it's for this generation, or this, it's just too depressing, and the world's depressing enough as it is, that people don't want to watch it. But I think if you watch, like we said, with how Grace, that monologue at the end is, it's so moving, and it's so eye opening. Going, wow, I never thought how that would probably happen, where someone would like, oh, my kids departed, my husband departed, yet they were just out looking for me.
And the thing is, all these, great, I would even so Ethan said this reminded him of season 1. I would say this is the season 1 monologues, but much stronger, much more effective.
Yeah.
But these are just, these characters are they're basically random people.
Right.
They're not, big political figures. They're not even people.
They're everyday people.
Exactly, and so that's why it makes them so relatable. And
Go ahead.
Go ahead, kid. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I will say, on a positive note, that I've seen a lot of reaction channels on YouTube, and a lot of them do Lost, and a lot of the people vote for what they do next. Yeah. And I'm always seeing a ton of people vote for the Leftovers.
Yeah.
Especially after Lost. So that is maybe a bright spot there.
Is anybody doing it?
Well, Lost is a lot longer than the Leftovers.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So 2 things. One, I think Jack's right. I think you see these careers start to take off, especially someone like Carrie Coon, right? And Justin Theroux, who's at the top of his game, in everything, because he's a writer, and everything as well.
And Jill, I'm drawing. And
Margaret Qualley.
Yeah.
And Regina King. My God, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And Carrie Coon's in the new Ghostbusters movie that's about to come out, right? So, you'll see people take off, but you won't know where they came from, where the origin story is, and it's in this show. But also, I was going to say this is my favorite Good Housekeeping article, but it's not. It's become my second favorite because of Rose's Good Housekeeping article, which everyone should look that up with. It's amazing. But how Good Housekeeping did the only list of the best HBO shows. One of those arbitrary lists they make, and The Leftovers was number 2 behind The Wire. And that's to put the Sopranos 3, you got to have a lot of good housekeeping cojones. I had a question for Jack about his.
I would probably put The Wire ahead. I would put The Leftovers ahead of Sopranos, and I love The Sopranos.
Yeah. But I have a question for you about The Sopranos because you're just finishing up a rewatch.
Yes.
Who hasn't seen it? Caleb, anyone haven't seen it?
I haven't.
Well, cover your ears real quick.
But I can, yeah.
Yeah. So, Soprano Spoilers, everyone's coming up. Tony gets shot. He goes to the hospital. He has that thing. Did you see? Did that stick out this time to you? Any?
With the hole in his chest.
No. Yeah, but the
Kevin
Finnerty stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was just him.
But that was a direct. David Lindelof said there's a direct line between that and all the Kevin Garvey season 2 international assassin stuff.
Okay, yeah. I do see that then. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing.
That's I mean, there's some. I think my favorite scene, the most realistic scene in The Sopranos, is when him and Carm are not getting along, and they're filing for divorce, and they're in the house, and they start a fight, and he comes up to hit her, and he doesn't hit her, but he hits the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that she is absolutely terrified, and he is absolutely he did have such a great job of showing his anger. I mean, it's that great an actor. That scene is so believable because I'm drawing a blank on the actress's name.
Edie Falco.
Edie Falco. Well, she's fantastic. Everything she does. But I believe that her fear, it's just like I watch it every time I watch that scene. I go, that scene's just amazing.
Yeah. I actually have things to say about that scene in next week's Leftovers episode.
Wow,
crazy.
He's spoiling his own spoiler.
Yeah.
Anyway, Caleb, you can come back.
Come back.
And when they all live happily ever after.
I know it's been on forever. I haven't watched it. The reason why I'm trying to stay away from spoilers is because I literally know nothing about it other than that it cuts to black at the end, and that pissed people off. So, and I know it's like great, and so I have to get to it one day.
Has a little journey at the end.
Yeah, don't stop believing, Jack.
Don't stop believing.
Do you know why he picked that song? I found out why he picked that song. They were scouting locations for the scene, and people knew about the end that he was scouting locations with, and he said, I was thinking about this song for the end, and everyone in the car said, "Ugh, you can't use that." And he said, "That's the song I'm going to use."
Because he wanted to steal it from Glee.
Did Glee do it?
Didn't Glee do that?
No, that's where it belongs on a show like Glee, I guess.
Whatever that means.
I will tell you, you go to a Journey concert now, and obviously Steve Perry's not there, but even 10-year-olds know the words to Journey songs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of those things where it just got passed down from 3 generations.
I know they do that with good music too.
You can hate all you want. I mean, it's just.
I do. I really do.
I love Journey. It's not Boston. Obviously, Boston's my favorite. But
are they?
Yeah.
Nice. Sorry about that too. Any one-word band names? Boston, Kansas, Sticks, The Who, sir. The Who. Thank you.
But no one ever says The Who. Who?
Yeah.
Wham.
Aerosmith is one word.
Yeah.
They're terrible. I hate Aerosmith more than
I'm thinking of like that's Liv Tyler's father you're talking about.
Meg's daddy.
Yeah. She just said.
I base bands on would I go see them for free?
Would you go see them for free?
Oh Lord!
If I would go see them for free, would I go see Aerosmith for free? Absolutely not.
Really? Well, not now. Maybe not now, but their prime.
And never.
Because I finally saw Van Halen, but at the end, and it was like, okay,
got a job.
Wait, was it David Lee Roth?
It was David Lee Roth.
So it was after reunion, right? The fake reunion where they said they were going to get back together with David Lee Roth, but then they cut the bass player.
Yeah. No, was the bass player?
Yeah, it was Wolfgang's. It was Wolfgang. Maybe.
Yeah, that's right. But it was sad because he couldn't, obviously no singing ability left, and he was just telling stories. I thought the stories were pretty fascinating, but the fans were like going, "Sing some songs, we come into his guitar." I'm like going,
because at that
he
point
can't sing anymore.
David Lee Roth was doing like radio in New York, talk radio in the morning.
Yeah,
And the guys at night were mocking him, like to the point where they almost lost their jobs.
This is the conversation we usually have after we stop talking about the Leftovers.
Yeah, we probably should stop now.
Yeah, we should.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone who joined us. We'll be back next Monday for the 4th episode entitled
Good day, Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Okay, there you go. But thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.